Hello, everyone. Those joining right now, those connecting. If you can please confirm via chat that you're seeing my screen and hear my voice, that'd be fantastic. Thank you. We'll start in a few minutes as the rest of the attendees connect. Perfect. Thank you, Stephen. All right. Good. Okay. So, perfect. Let's get started. Uh, Thanks everyone for joining today in this webinar. This Tech Talk webinar where we'll be talking about the impact of peak season on your supply chain preparation and execution. My name is Gabriel Sang, the tech specialist here at Techdinamics. And well, we are barely there with the beginning of peak season anytime soon. Time flies, so we're at the end of August. Um, and the idea of this webinar is that we get to take some time to review some of the key elements to get prepared for peak season, how to streamline several things in terms of information passage, optimization in billing accounts, transparency of data. So as you begin this new peak season cycle, you're good to go and ready to go with a polished, efficient, and transparent setup. Okay. So as for the agenda today, these are the core topics that we'll be talking about. First of all, we're going to talk a little bit about peak season. What's the context? Then we'll talk a little bit about being prepared. Uh, First, from a conceptual standpoint, then we're going to deep dive into specific needs that might be needed to be taken care of, and how we can do these in TechSHIP and TechTrack as the two main applications. Then we're going to talk about efficiency setup elements, okay? Where we should be attentive to with the purpose of making everything flow as smooth and as automatedly as possible within obviously each warehouse's context. Obviously, many of you might be connected to different systems when it comes to WMS. But the thing is that regardless of that, there are many things you can do in TechShip to streamline and to automate as much as you can to save time, human error, and a couple more things. So for this, we're going to take a little bit of time in TechTrack from a setup standpoint, so you can maximize visibility of carrier performance, performance by client, and also the shipping trends. And then we're going to talk a little bit about TechShip, okay? How you can improve things in TechShip, how you can automate your setup as much as possible, so you can maximize automation. Obviously, in that particular sense, we're going to be reviewing um, the most generic options available, regardless of what system you might be connected to. But we're also going to deep dive in several options that might come in handy regardless of that. Okay, so this is what awaits as part of this webinar. So let's get started. So as for context, most of you might already know that the e-commerce sales have been growing year by year. It takes just a few minutes to check any graph and see how e-commerce sales have been growing steadily since 2019, 2020, when The trend started going faster. And well, e-commerce sales exceeded $6 trillion in 2023 globally, and the estimate for next year is $10 trillion. So it doesn't seem to be stopping or slowing down. Now that being a that being the reality, sometimes the requirements are a little bit rougher for the fulfillment centers, trying to meet the volume, shipping that out of the door, and well, obviously, the natural pressures of the market itself, right? Um, a market that requires more than 5 years back, in terms of how fast things get, how fluid the processes are, how efficient these are as well. So we're going to take a few minutes to talk about that. Uh, what's what's a reality is that the brick and mortar retail has been migrating steadily into online retail. Many of us are part of this equation on the customer side. How many of you guys um, shop for things online that you used to go to a physical store to buy, right? So it's become sort of like the common culture now, where back in the day we typically shopped online for specific things and not mostly for daily life elements. So this obviously is on one end profitable for fulfillment centers, but also a challenge. So currently, one of the trends, besides of the volume, has been that the customers' expectations for e-commerce orders are in an ATH, and the result is that they expect more from fulfillment companies. This growth um, uh, in volumes and in requirements uh, basically translates into several specific scenarios, regardless of the carriers. It's quite common to find many more customers than back a few years back, expecting to have their delivery shipped in two to same day thresholds, right? So 48 hour to 48 hour to 24-hour delivery is much more common than in the past. In fact, statistics have shown, specifically talking about Amazon, that same-day Amazon shipments has increased 50% in relation to 2022, with a steady growth of an average 65% year per year. So people are want to get things faster than in the past. There has been a little bit of a reversal trend in this, which I don't know if every one of you has noticed. Um, and some people just try to save some money in shipping rather than just getting it fast. But that reversal is not has not had such an effect to change this trend of same day, 2 day shipping. So at the time of us fulfilling orders, it's critical that our systems enable us to handle that sort of requirement, right? Everything has to be much more customer focused. For well, to achieve that kind of efficiency, you need order visibility. Um, Detecting yellow or red flags as you try to ship an order. Say, for example, you have a same day, you have a same day shipment, right? You take a look at you process the order, you manifest it, you're checking 2, 4, 3 hours later, and there's no movement in that order, or the carrier inducted the order late, right? So that's a yellow flag, and there are actions that you can take in that sense, following up. Or well, you can just try to find or try to find out if that order is still laying somewhere in the warehouse, and it was actually not shipped, right? How do you get that type of transparency? TechTALK helps you with that. So order visibility is critical. And the other element, which is critical as well, obviously for profitability, is the cost of shipping, right? Because obviously everyone wants the best towards their own interests, right? So the customer wants everything for yesterday. The carriers want everything as efficient as possible, and on our end, in the fulfillment center end, we want to save as much money as possible, right? So that's a hard to balance equation, and TechShip and TechTrack can help you with that. What we're seeing here on screen is a screenshot of TechTrack. We're going to go into a live environment with this. But well, the idea is that everything, when data is transparent, it's live data, and you have tools to visibly recognize where potential issues might be. Uh, in that sense, you can not act on a hunch, but act on data, and at the same time, try to catch potentially problematic orders in time, so these are not an issue at the end. Um, okay, so getting ready for peak season. You need to be prepared. Um, you can always improvise, but the results, unless you're a really good improviser, are not going to be the same as having an actual plan. So there are three pillars for being prepared for peak season when it comes to TechShip and TechTrack. And that is on the cost efficiency side, shipping with multiple couriers and rate shopping, providing you the capability of having multiple couriers when some are at capacity. This on the performance side, right? So if you know that, not to mention any in particular, but let's say courier A is delivering orders late by 2 or 3 days, well, you have alternatives to that, which might not be cost efficient, but will help you achieve the shipping thresholds that are required for the client, not to end up having refunds or anything else that might be that might hit the financial equation at the end of day. And also having multiple couriers shipping protects you against couriers slowing down, because you can steer from one to another depending on the time of peak season. If I know that carrier A is going to be a problem halfway through Christmas, well, why use it? But you have the data to make that decision. You have data that tells you this carrier has been inducting late orders. 50% of the orders have been late inducted, and out of that 50%, 75% has been late delivered. So more than half, almost half your shipments are being late delivered by the carrier. Why choose that one, right? If that's going to be costing you money at the end with refunds, with whatever the customer is going to end up having. Why not catch it beforehand? Why not take a look at the stats and say, well, this carrier has been steadily growing in their late induction uh, rate by 10% a month. So if they started to induct late in September with 10%, by December is going to be 40, right? Or worse. So you can take a look at the data, analyze it transparently, and make decisions based on that. Now, on the rate shop side of the aisle, having many carriers, multiple couriers, allows you to rate shop across them and choose the most cost-efficient service level. Many times, this can be combined with additional conditions. So you're not just rate shopping the price, you're rate shopping performance, or you're rate shopping specific services for specific reasons, right? So just to give you a brief example, if we're shipping perishable goods, right, or we're shipping something that might go bad. Shipping chocolate, for example, right? If I want to rate shop, I want to make sure that besides of getting the cheapest rate, I also get a service that delivers a chocolate bar and not chocolate milk at the end of the shipping process. So by adding additional by adding conditions to the rate shopping, you will have an additional layer of logic that says, give me the cheapest rate as long as all these conditions are met, as long as the estimated delivery days is 2 or less. And that it's not shipping on Fridays because that chocolate might be sitting in a truck or maybe sitting in a warehouse for 3 days across the whole weekend and then start moving back again on Monday, right? So these rate shopping, having several couriers set up, rate shopping across carriers and service levels with additional conditions allows you to save money within the safe thresholds of shipping goals and targets, and also ensure we are providing our customers with the best rate, right? Obviously, this there's fierce competition in this sense, and the more specific and competitive you can be, the better. So where do you get those numbers from? You get it from rate shopping rules and rate shopping restrictions, and the more carriers you have, the wider your range is to be able to choose one option or the other depending on the case. Okay. Now, automation. Automation heavily relates and depends on how well configured your systems are. Not only techSHIP, but your WMS as well. So speed, or more speed is what you're looking for with automation. And you also reduce manual touch points and errors, a human error that might be involved in the process. Again, this is heavily dependent on what kind of hardware you have, how your WMS is configured, how customized that is to meet your system requirements, right? If you need to pass, for example, custom fields, accessorials, flags, all that information. The more you can automate, the better it is because it's going to be faster. It will require less reviewing. And at the end, the logic that a human applies in the packing line or at an office printing a batch processing or batch picking is logic that could be translated to the system. So you think once, you work once, you lift the weight once, and then the system does all the thinking, all the heavy lifting, and all the weight pulling that is required. So automation is a key element over here. We're going to talk a little bit about that in deeper detail in a moment. So when we talk about efficiency setup elements, the main question is where and what, right? Where do I find these elements and what do I need to set up? So over here we have basically two sides of the aisle, operational efficiency and cost efficiency. So the idea for operational efficiency is to set up techSHIP to work as automatically as possible. This could relate to portal setup that you might need to work in combination with our our support or our implementation team. Many things you can handle on your own already. And then the other element of operational efficiency is not the setup as such, but whenever you find exceptions to the rule, that you can run a quick and easy troubleshooting process to prevent slowdowns. So a single order doesn't stop your packing line. You can just tackle that as fast as you can, and you're ready to go. We're going to see one of these scenarios as well. When it comes to cost efficiency, the idea here is to, as much as possible, migrate from fixed service levels to rate shopping, okay? Because unless at the time of creating that order, you have a crystal ball that tells you what is the best shipping option in terms of shipping cost, you'll have to rely on rate shopping. In many cases, for different reasons, you might need to you might perfectly use fixed service levels. If I go into your shopping cart in your website, in your customer's website, and I choose a specific item. I fill my cart and go to checkout, and I have a specific carrier option with specific service levels: UPS ground, UPS second day air, UPS 3-day select, FedEx ground advantage, and so on and so forth. I can choose as a customer what kind of shipping option I have. Or you might mask it under different, let's say, blanket services like free shipping, premium shipping, same day shipping. But in the back, you're going to end up choosing a service level at the end, right? Now, again, unless you know beforehand which is the most cost-effective option, you'll end up providing the customer with options which might not, and that lack of competitivity with other platforms and other people that might do it at the end is felt, because if I need to choose between buying the same item in different marketplaces, right, for the same price, but in one of them I get free shipping and in the other one I don't, I just won't pay for shipping. As simple as that. As the end customer, I'm going to choose free shipping, right? So how do you get there? Rate shopping is a key for that, okay? Because if you use fixed service levels, unless it's ground every time, which in some cases might not, rate shopping can do all that heavy lifting and all that thinking automatically. So you can achieve cost efficiency with minimal effort. You do it once, you tell the system once what you need to do, what you need to get, and then you move in that direction. For this, sometimes it's just not enough to just define which carriers you want to use. Say, for example, that if you want to say that you want 4 carriers to rate shop, right? You're going to go UPS, FedEx, DHL, and USPS. Now, sometimes you might want to force some orders with specific features to go under a specific carrier. Why? Because you have better negotiated rates for specific, let's say, weight thresholds or specific regions, right? So by using advanced configurations, and by advanced configurations, I mean order management rules, typically called OMR, or advanced restrictions at the rate shopping level, you can achieve both things. You can get the best service out there at the best price, as long as it complies with the conditions you set. And these conditions can be set by carrier. So maybe for DHL, I want to ship everything international as much as possible via DHL because I'm saving a crazy amount of money. And then I want to try to ship everything that cuts it in 2 days domestically. It doesn't matter the carrier, as long as I get the best price. So I can define rules that move things one way or the other. We're going to take some time to review that as well. But the idea of advanced configurations is to meet the service goals and be profitable at the same time. Now, going or taking a quick peek into the shipping trend graph in TechTrack, okay? This is another efficiency setup element, which is reviewing the shipping trends. Shipping trends in TechTrack, this is just a sample graph, okay? As you can see, it's a little bit about almost 900 order graph over the whole month of April. The idea of reviewing the shipping trend is to understand that context is the key for efficiency. So with the shipping trend graph, you can identify your shipping volume peaks in many levels, because of what we're seeing right now is month, but you can also break it by week or by day. So you can know which are the busiest times, depending on the case, and also identify the amount and ratio of successful late or fade deliveries. In this particular graph, you see a section which is green, which are on-time deliveries. Then those in yellow are late deliveries, and red, which is not showing at all, are failed deliveries. So this shipping trend can be used to realize across a year, across a month, or across a week, which are the busiest days. And this will not only help you get prepared system-wise, but also with your human resources, with your staff at the warehouse. If you notice a trend that every month, the busiest times, or the most volume you get for a specific client is the first and the second week, well, you might want to rearrange your workforce so there's more effort put for that client at that specific time of the year. I always like to note that when we talk about peak season, in general terms, we're always thinking about October, November, December, because we have all the specials, not all, but most of the special sales in that threshold, right? We have Cyber Monday, Black Friday, 11/11, Christmas, Halloween, Thanksgiving. There are a lot of special days by the end of year, which are typically driving lots of volume in consideration with the rest of the year. But for a store or a company selling camping equipment, you might have two peak seasons. Um, you might even sell more rather than by the end of year, halfway through it, because I might have a hot sale or a clearance sale starting, let's say February, March, targeting summer, right? And if you take a look at the shipping trend for that client, your peak season is not going to be as for the rest of your client's peak season. It's exactly the opposite. So the shipping trend graphs allows you to see transparently which clients, how, and when you're having the highest peaks, and when efficiency is at the order of day and when it's worse. Because, for example, here I have the 21st of April with fantastic performance. As you can see, there were no late deliveries or barely a few in April 21st. But if I take a look at April 24th, April 26th, it's terrible. It's terrible. Just a few orders were delivered on time. The rest were delivered late. So if you can find the patterns, sit down and analyze them. At the time of designing your strategy for the peak season, performance-wise, within the warehouse with your workforce, again, you don't have to act on a hunch. You can act based on data. You can design your strategy based on data, your rules based on data. If you know that a specific carrier is going to deliver late, because they have been delivering late for the last 3 years, and you see that the trend is going that way, well, why go with that carrier? You might want to disable it for that time of the year. You might say, well, April is not the month to use this carrier. Turn it off, right? Or let's drive some of these orders, set some rules, so more orders, which are more time sensitive, might land in some other carrier with better performance. That's the whole idea of the shipping trend graph, that you get transparent visibility over the volume, over the times of the year, times of the month, times of the week, and how performance is being presented in a visible and transparent way. Now, when it comes to information flow, okay, thinking a little bit more on the automation side, the best case scenario is that within your WMS and TechSHIP, the information flow is flawless, okay? That you don't require any input at the packing line, that you don't require any corrections, any manual intervention in terms of the order information. In other words, that TechSHIP and your WMS speak exactly the same language, right? There is basic information that's always going to flow, right? Ship to data, references, service levels, carriers, right? The basic information, that's fine. But what happens if you're shipping a specific type of good, dangerous goods, alcohol, items that need signature required? Depending on where you're shipping to, what kind of signature? Is it going to be to an area where the signature has to be signed by a 21-year-old or a 17-year-old, right? At least. So all these little elements, if it has insurance or not, if it's over a specific amount value or not. And any other additional intervention that you might require manually, try to transfer all that to the system logic. So you define it once, and then the system handles it from that point on. And the only thing your staff has to worry about is to scan, print the label, stick it in the box, pack it, push it down the line. So it's ready to go at the time of manifesting. Okay. So the WMS and TechSHIP information flow tie things up as the best possible, the best as possible. Okay. This is achievable by having a good client and billing account setup. Why? Because if you forget to add a reference in the billing account, or if you forget to add the packing slips or the proper packing slip information at the billing account, or if you have the wrong markups at your billing account, then you'll have to do extra work at the end. There's a lot of work that TechSHIP can do and can save you from doing if you properly configure it, right? This could go as from the most basic setting of saying, for example, I have a billing account via a specific carrier, which prints a packing slip automatically in a thermal label. And at the same time, I'm marking up that account 10%, okay? And I want to include that 10% in my rate shopping. So I don't rate shop the base rate or my negotiated rate, but I rate shop the marked up rate, okay? This sort of scenario allows you to save a lot of money and give you a lot of time to take care about other things. And again, when it comes to cost efficiency, basic or advanced rate shopping is the key. So you don't have to sit down and calculate across carriers which would be the best or worst option depending on the case. Now, when you monitor carrier performance, what you need is transparent metrics. Okay, this is just a cut of TechTrack view, okay, from the dashboard. But the idea of these transparent metrics is that for every carrier, you will have the on-time delivery, the on-time induction, the late delivery percentage, the late induction percentage, and the failed deliveries, as well as the volume and how many shipments you had for each carrier and for each client. By having this information at hand, you can review the performance across all carriers or for just a specific one, the one you choose. And you can also apply multiple filters here. As for your cost structure for your clients, you can also graphically review how much volume you're dedicating to each client. So maybe some clients are taking a lot of your workforce's energy, while other clients just require, well, not that much. Just in this little graph over here, I can see that the client in the middle is 3 or 4 more times, or has you have shipped 3 or 4 times more volume than for the client in the left, let alone the one on the right, right? So over there, you'll see which clients require the most attention and the most workforce at the time of processing orders. So the idea at the end is that you build a strategy. Knowledge is power, and this knowledge is at hand within TechTrack, allowing you to check trackings quickly and transparently through the tracking history. You can make decisions based on accurate historical data and organize your operations based on current performance data. What proactive solutions you can take with this information before we jump into the products themselves? First of all, you can find issues. When there's transparency, these issues are easy to find. They're clear on what these are and where these are. You can also handle claims much faster. If anyone has a claim, it's super easy to get to that order, see what happened with it, what the problem might have been, and based on that, say, well, okay, this is how we're going to fix it. And then by having more time and getting feedback, which you can turn into settings within TechSHIP and TechTrack, you can improve performance. So it's at the end, it's a virtuous cycle of easily spotting what issues you have, fixing them as you move forward, and at the same time uh, uh, perfect your system settings according to those scenarios. And in due time, you're going to cover so much ground that your issues will be minimal, if not null, in some scenarios, and that you'll be handling just a few exceptions to the rule rather than your issues be the rule itself. So, having presented all this, let's do it. Let's take 20 minutes to go through TechSHIP and techTALK and see where you can find this information. So first of all, let's start with TechSHIP, okay? Over here, I have a batch, okay? This has already been processed. As you can see, ground has been the option here for every one of these batches. Let's grab this one, okay? And take a look at the rates. So this shipment is going, it's a Canadian shipment, okay? Within this section, as you process batches, you'll see that you have the account that has been, the carrier and the account that has been used. So if at any point someone has a claim and you need to know what's going on, what has been wrong, what has been set up wrong, if there's anything off, you can have quick accesses over here to view, we're using the view button to that particular account setup, okay? So carrier and account quick accesses are available so you can review what's needed, okay? In this particular case, let's give it a time to load. Perfect. If you notice any anomaly, say for example that you're missing references as you're printing the labels, well, you can perfectly do so this way. Give me an order that's wrong. Let's jump straight into the account and let's change. Oh, this shouldn't be customer not order number. This is going to be pick order number, right? Or the packing slip that we're printing, we're missing one. We have the standard one, but we need a retailer one. Cool. Then you can come over here and say, oh, this is where the error is. We didn't set any secondary packing slip. So over here, I'm going to add my Walmart packing slip, right? Then when it comes to markups, which markup I'm going to use? I'm going to use the profile. I'm going to use a specific fee markup. It depends on the case, right? And when it comes to the carry options section, over here can define as usual address validation options, for example. In this case, it's no validation. Maybe we realize that we're getting hit with surcharges and more. Oh, yeah, we forgot to add the address validation issue, or you're getting too many issues when it comes to address checks. Or you chose ground and then you want to move to ground advantage automatically. You switch auto switch ground to ground home or ground advantage, right? Well, as you can see, this quick access to the billing account allows you to jump from a conflicted order straight into where it should go. All right. When it comes to accessorials and other elements, you have them under carrier options. This allows you to know, for example, if I would have the order set up in my WMS to include signature required, if I go into this order, I realize it doesn't have it. Well, I might have found an issue here. I might need to fix the mapping between signature required, for signature required between the WMS and TechSHIP. Okay. And when it comes to rates, as you can see over here, it's rate shopping FedEx only. And as you can see, we got the best rate over here. The transit time in this particular case is just 1 day, so that's fantastic. That's great. Now, for another order, it takes more time. I could have other carriers. It's like, well, fine, I got the cheapest rates, but I need better transit time. So in that case, I might consider, let's go into this client, let's add a couple more carriers, and let's set some rules where I need the system to rate shop at specific services as long as the transit time is under a specific threshold. Okay, we're going to see a brief example for this, but again, as these are rate shopped, as you can see, the effort is null. You just process and print and you're good to go. The system is going to reach the carriers, get the rates, and at the end compare services and other rules that might be at hand. So the best and the most efficient option is picked not only in terms of cost, but also in terms of performance. Okay, when it comes to this setup, let's go to FedEx over here. Within the client section and under your billing account, you have the restriction service, okay? In this particular case, for example, this particular setup is excluding codes by default, okay? So it's going to rate shop everything over the board, but at the end, not consider today and today AM. Now, what might be required is that these services, not just block these services up front, but block them as long as some conditions are met. Maybe I want to consider today AM and today, but as long as some conditions are met. So what you can do is switch from the basic mode to the advanced mode and say, hey, I want to rate shop ground always, and that's fine. But I want to rate shop today as long as the weight, total weight in pounds, is less or equal than, let's say, 20 pounds, right? Because we have negotiated rates, and if we go past this threshold, it's going to be super expensive, right? But to keep good performance here, I want to add a condition to ground. I don't want ground to take forever. I want ground to be taken into consideration when it's the cheapest option, but that the time in transit. Oh, sorry, just a second. Let me go back to the account. Okay. Let's allow orders. Let's add ground. Always. There we go. Second day. Good. So I want today, as long as, well, it's going to be 2 days. So that's something we shouldn't worry about. We can also add the condition if we want. That's a fail safe, right? And that's valid, right? But I want ground as long as it's the cheapest option, but also meets the time and transit conditions. So over here, I'm going to do transit. Just a second. Okay, delivery days here. And the delivery days are 2 days or less. So if ground cuts it in 2 days or less, well, in this case, should be this way. If it's 2 days or less, I want to take ground into consideration because I have committed when shipping for this client and through this account to ship orders in 2-day stops, 48 hours. Okay. So over here, I could say rate shop these two. I could add this fail safe over here as well, but get me the cheapest one, but that also complies with this time condition. Okay. So this is possible being done through here, through advanced restriction. And this is a simple example, but it can save you a lot of time and effort, okay? Because in the packing line, the person packing the order, scanning and printing, doesn't, well, this person could perfectly have no idea of what's going on in the background. The only thing they need to do is scan, and from the printer, they're going to get a UPS label, a FedEx label, a USPS label, and that's it. You just scan it, print it, stick it, and that's it. The system did all the heavy thinking of where it's going to, how fast it's going, how heavy it is, what kind of contents are there, right? And based on that, well, decide what service is the most efficient one, cost and performance at the same time. Since we're at the client section, I'm going to do it in another client. Okay, we have OMR. So within the OMR section, you can define rules that execute when you import the order or when you process. So depending on when the information is available for review for the system, you can choose either these two triggers. Typically, import is for information that comes from the WMS already, and not for information you will get at the packing line. So, for example, if I have a rule based on weight, every order that weighs more than 20 pounds has to be tagged somehow, okay? Or has to add fragile, handle with care in the instructions field, okay, as an instruction to the carrier. So I could perfectly say, well, I'm gonna do data import if and only if the weight is coming from the WMS. Because if at the packing line I have a scale and a dimensioner, or just a scale and the dimensioners are coming from the WMS or somehow else picked, I won't have the weight as I import. I will have the weight when I process, after I have scaled that shipment. But whichever the moment of the trigger, we can do something like that and say, when I process the order, if the weight, the total weight exceeds 20 pounds, right? I'm going to add this condition here. What I'm going to do is add a heavy handle with care in the instructions field, okay? And as I add this condition, everything will be fine. I don't have to think about this anymore. Every time an order is processed with a weight equal or greater than 20 pounds, TechSHIP will automatically add the instructions to the carrier. So that's one thing I'm not gonna that's not gonna take sleep hours for me when I try to go to sleep this night tonight. Okay. I just forget about this issue. The system will take care of it. Another scenario here, for example, would be for customs or for insurance. I could say, well, calculate the declared value, the total value of the order, okay? And if this is over, let's say, $500, apply insurance to it, okay? So I'm gonna find an insurance flag and turn it true. So as long as the shipment is $500 or more of declared value, the total value, then we just apply insurance, and that's it. And I'm going to do it as the order is imported. I save it. So when I push an order in, TechShip is going to go for each order through all this list of instructions, and it's going to check all these conditions one by one. Does it meet with this? Does it meet with that? Let's do this and let's do that, and let's not do something with this one which doesn't fit within my logic conditions. But you can translate as much as you can through this section. You can add as many rules as well. This has almost no performance impact for every order. We're talking about nanoseconds at the time of running through these rules. So you shouldn't worry about having 1 or 100, as long as these not collide each other in terms of logic, they don't contradict each other, that's fine. And the good news is that you can download these rules once you have defined these, so you can migrate it to other clients. You could have one client here, which is not an actual client, but let's say your secret lab, all right? You have a secret laboratory where you define all these rules. It's your testing ground. And with that, what you can do is say, this is where we test everything. Are the rules fine? Cool, let's download them, okay? So I download my rules. I'm gonna save these, all right? And once I'm good to go, I can perfectly go to another client, let's say this one. Let's try to find one that does it, this one, all right? And I can import these rules. I'm going to choose a file. I'm going to go and get these, okay? There we go. And I'm going to import the rules and push them in. So once I have, you can define your own groups of rules for different type of clients. If you have a client that ships international orders and your rule set is the same, you define it in once, you migrate it to all the others. Or even if you have to do little tweaking here and there, at least you don't have to define all these manually all over again, right? You're going to have these little seeds of logic, which you can put here and there wherever is required, and you don't have to do all these setups over and over and over, exposing yourself to human error at the time of pushing this in. All right. So OMR and advanced rate shopping are key for you to properly handle these. One more mention before we jump into techTALK in the last few minutes. One thing you can play with is the rate shopping groups. So rate shopping groups are basically wildcard. It's a wildcard field that you can use to classify or tag orders, which run under specific conditions. For example, bring me all the orders that are international orders. Let's say I'm located in the US, right? So any order going outside the US, that's my first condition. But I also want to know if a specific SKU or if a specific group of SKUs is part of the order. So I'm going to add SKU code, at least one like, and then I'm going to use wildcards with asterisks, and any SKU that has the code CRP, all right, at some point of the SKU code is going to match this. Let's imagine that CRP is car replacement part. So when I export, basically car replacement parts, then what I want to do is apply insurance. I'm going to have signature required, signature flag true, and I also want to have a calculated declared value using the cost of shipping. Okay, so I don't even have to think about customs information and whatever, because my billing account is going to have all the export information pre-filled. I'm going to have this automatically calculating the value, the declared value for the customs data, and it's automatically applying signature and insurance. As long as it's going outside the US, that's an export, and it's a car replacement part. So if I have a SKU which code is CRP001 or 007 CRP or whatever that has CRP on it, that's great. Okay, that's it. I'm just going to save it and forget about it. So that's the whole idea. And you can apply one more layer of logic, which is rate shopping group. So go into the rate shopping group. These can be defined however you want. So in this case, for example, I could say expedited shipping. Let's imagine that we are grouping orders based on the content as free shipping, expedited shipping, and premium shipping. So this is going to be expedited. I'm going to add this condition here. So when I save it, as the order is imported, is going to be handled by all this logic, but also tagged as expedited. And this is before I process the order. It's when I import. So at the time of importing, I'm going to have this tag to take a look at. And what I can do is say, hey, when I ship via UPS here, if the tag is expedited in advanced mode, upgrade the shipping, okay? Consider next day air as long as my rate shopping group equals expedited. And then rate shop everything else. Let's say we have ground and express, and let's add one more, second day air, okay? I'm gonna rate shop these always. But next day air is an automatic upgrade for the car spare parts. So people go into my website, I could perfectly promote it this way. Car spare parts have premium shipping. If you add a car spare part into your shopping cart, you're gonna get expedited shipping, next day air shipping. And this is how you translate it. When the order comes in, you assign a rate shopping group. When you go to the restrictions, you use that rate shopping group to force the order going through a specific service level. When you rate shop, you only consider that. You could also be a little bit more specific and say, well, if I'm shipping to non-continental US, it's not going to be next day air, but it could be second day air. And I could perfectly say in that sense, sorry, let's go. and do it this way. If the state, sorry, if the country is different from this or that, US, well, in this case, we did it this way, then you handle it that way. It's like, okay. But that's the thing. You can combine one and the other to do this. As for visibility, within TechTrack, within the dashboard, you're going to have a clear review of the shipping trends and all the information. As you can see over here, these are just test statistics, all right? But it's quite representative. If you're shipping international orders, you're going to see the countries where you're shipping most volume darker, all right? In this case, Canada is where we're shipping the most. But if I click US, the system is going to filter all the US orders out of these 130 million orders that we have in this particular setting. It's going to take some time to to filter, but that's the thing. You can break these filters by carriers, by clients. As you can see, I could say, well, I want to see out of the whole performance, all the FedEx orders. I don't want to, because I suspect that the performance is dropping, right? So I can do it that way. And you can start breaking it up all the way down to what you need to review, either if it is for a client or a specific carrier. For example, over here, I have all the US orders going through FedEx. Over here, I have the shipping trend. As you can see, April was the month that we shipped the most via FedEx, but this is for the 319 clients, right? Over here, I have on-time delivery, on-time induction. This is a huge yellow flag, okay? But apparently in these stats, even though they inducted late, they delivered on time. So I guess they have a pretty good gas. They step on the gas really well to induct late but deliver on time. And if you want to break it up by a specific customer, because this shipping trend is across all the 319 customers, but maybe for one of these, the peak season is not April, as you can see here, and then you have the value May and June. Maybe it's some other time of the year. So what we're going to do here is click here, take a moment, and see, well, this is representative of the average, but maybe some other client won't. If I pull it back and go back to the 319 clients, let's give it a moment to load. And just a quick note, this is a test environment, so performance is not representative of a production one. But let's say that we grab this here. As you can see, beginning of the year, FedEx is barely nothing. Peak season, air quotes, for this client and this carrier is June. As you can see, they jumped from 539 orders all the way to almost 8,000 in 2 months. So this gives you a transparent look of which clients, when, and how are making the most use of your workforce at the fulfillment center. As for specific orders, you have the tracking section. Okay, so if you want to know what's wrong with a specific order, you can always click in the late delivery, late induction, and fail delivery sections. This is going to take you straight to a panel where you can get to see which are these problematic orders, which orders comprise this 9.5% of late inducted orders. So you can actually make sure that things are that you keep let's say a close look at these before they actually become a problem, right? You can catch the yellow flag because before it turns into a red one. And when it comes to trackings, right? What you could do over here is go straight to the tracking and see what the problem might be. So let me try to find some of these that might be en route, so I can show you a tracking shipment data of a specific order. Okay. As you process orders in techSHIP and you manifest these, uh, if you have your TechTrack integration on, what you're going to find is that as you manifest in TechSHIP, all that information is pushed to TechTrack. When that happens, your WMS is also updated, and then everything starts and begins the motion of updating, giving real-time data. Your customer gets an email with the tracking number, you get visibility over that shipment, so on and so forth. And that's how you end up um, you end up touching every point that should be updated with the last information available on one end, either if it is you or the customer. Okay. And at the same time, you get to see and have information on where that order is and what might have failed. For example, if I choose to filter failed deliveries over here for the last 5 days, when I click in one of these, I can see step by step what went on, right? So this shipment came out August 26th. It was processed in Kitchener, Ontario. And what ended up happening here was that the item was out for delivery next day, but the problem is that the address was incomplete. So if I have this type of issue when I already shipped the order, my first concern is going to be, how do I have this billing account, the account that processes order set up? How did I miss an incomplete address? I should turn address validation on, for example, right? Currently, this is being returned to the sender. Same scenario with any other order, right? You're going to see the full historical data here. In this case, this is another case, right? No such number. It was out for delivery 2 days after, no such number. So it's going all the way back. Moved, left no address, all right? So you can avoid this type of issue. You can catch these. Sometimes you learn by mistake, sometimes you learn by anticipation. But there's no need to suffer all these every time, because you can see transparently what happened and what the problem was here, and then um, apply this feedback to your setup to make sure that you perfect your next run based on what you detected in this section. Over here, what I would do in this particular case, again, turn address validation. Well, addressee unknown, right? Um, in this particular case. But I would have checked. I said, what's wrong? I mean, did I get the wrong name from the shopping cart and I need to fix my shopping cart WMS integration? What data do I have in the WMS? Is it valid? Is it not? Right? But cases like this, no such number, this can be perfectly caught beforehand, right? Checking address validation options at the carrier level. So again, all this information allows you to define a strategy. From my point of view, there is no worse solution than acting on a hunch. The best case scenario is acting on data, acting on stats, and acting on trends. Many trends are very predictable. All it takes is for you to have transparent visibility over your data, okay? And almost everything can be perfectly fixed via automation with proper setup, because the logic that a human applies at a packing line, at an office, at a management meeting is most of the time, I'd say 90%, 99% of the time, translatable to system options. So why think every single time? Why pull the card every single time? Why make mistakes sometimes? If you can think it once, set it up once, and run automatically from there, handling exceptions every now and then, but them not being your daily bread, rather an exception that happens every now and then that you need to fix. So thank you. Thank you for the time that you've shared with us today. We're a little bit past time, but I wanted to wrap up some of these concepts. I hope that this has been useful for you, that you can make the best out of TechShip and the TechTrack. Well, that you get everything in line to have a productive peak season this year. We'll have a recording of this webinar within the next few days, uploaded to our YouTube channel, and you'll get the notifications from our team in a newsletters, so you can access it and share with the team members that were not able to attend today. Thank you. Have a wonderful day, and I hope you make the best out of Techdinamics products. Bye bye.